Hey everybody, welcome to the Bet365 Stadium. Norwich City have recorded a 1-1 draw here with Narcis Palacci's Stoke to make it one defeat in 7, I think, for the Canaries under Johannes Oftora. Not bad going, really, considering perhaps where they started the campaign. And look, this place is notoriously difficult to come to. It's notoriously difficult to get a result from, and it's notoriously difficult to come here and really impose yourself on the game. And throw in, obviously, the added context of it being the first game back after the international break, reference Swansea for how difficult that can be to hit your levels. And I think the fact that Norwich City have come away really with a point and come out of this game largely unscathed, I think is probably a result that everyone, I think in time, maybe the performance will frustrate, but I think in time the result is one that people can learn to live with, because the reality is, over a 46-game championship campaign, not all of it is going to be champagne football and 4-0 wins at Carrow Road in basking sunshine. You're going to have to go to tough places and grind out results that just keep you ticking along, keep the points tally ticking over. And I actually think that in time and with distance from this game, we'll reflect on this as a pretty good point. And, for context, Stoke's last game here, they beat Portsmouth by 6 goals to 1. This is not a place where you can just come and win and whatnot. So, yeah, Norwich have been made to sweat here today. And I think in terms of outcome, it's a result that everyone can probably live with, to be honest, and particularly when they weren't at their best. And I felt in that second half looks extremely leggy in terms of, obviously, a lot of those players have been away on international duty. Some of them in different continents, some of them in different time zones. Some of them played like they're a little bit jet lagged. So take all of that context into consideration. I think you probably end up with what we saw here today, which was a real mixed bag of a performance from Norwich City across the piece. And I'm probably stood here feeling both managers felt it. I feel it as well. I think a draw was probably, on reflection of the whole contest, a fair result, a fair sort of outcome to the way this game unfolded. Let's run through it then. Norwich City started this game unchanged. I think that was a little bit of a surprise, given certainly in terms of physical metrics, they're topping it in terms of intensity, in terms of what they are doing and how often they're doing it. Start of a 3-game week, there was some big calls. Marcelino Nunez stayed in the side after what's been an international break where he's been nursing a hamstring injury. Cordoba as well, they're managing his load. There's a few players in there who, Josh Sargent, for example, who only came back on Thursday. So there was a lot of big decisions, I think. So to go unchanged, I could see why Johannes Oftora felt it necessary, given the momentum that they've built up, given some of the performances they've produced. But with hindsight and with reflection, I wonder if he just wishes he'd made a couple of changes to start the game. But equally, Norwich did bring in some energy later in the latter stages that probably helped them leave here with a point, I would suggest. So, there we go. But it was unchanged. I felt the first half performance for Norwich was good, really good. I felt they controlled the game. I think they ended the half with 62% possession. They shaded the expected goals rate. They created some really good opportunities, and had it not been for some heroics, really, and some pretty world-class saves from Victor Johansson, they would have had a comfortable cushion heading into half-time. But they were made to work. I think this Stoke team, what we know about Narcis Palacci is that he's a brilliant coach, thorough, detailed, obsessive with the game. He would have, I'm sure, combed through Norwich City in detail, using all of that knowledge that he has, using the analysis. And I was told there's some pretty hefty analysis meetings prior to this game that went on for several hours. And I think you could see that, and you could see what they were trying to do, which was, in the spells where Norwich were higher up the pitch, not necessarily their deep build-up phases, but they really flooded the middle of the pitch, and that made probably penetration quite hard, progression quite hard in terms of in central areas where Norwich like to, and we've seen so many of those moves where they go up, down and long, or up, down and through, with some of their spells of possession. They weren't really able to get the likes of Josh Sargent and Borja Sainz into dangerous areas to really connect the game and turn those sort of spells of deeper possession that they like to have into those opportunities. There were a couple of moments, and Palash has just said this in his press conference, where they had to accept that Norwich were going to break the press because of the quality that they've got. But the trigger for them to change from that sort of really congested block where they offered Norwich City a lot of the flanks to do a lot of their work. For Norwich, if you look at the analysis of where they've played and how they've played their football this season, a lot of it's been very centric, very dominating that centre of the pitch, and Stoke just really put up a guard for that, and they gave Norwich a lot of room for manoeuvre in wider areas, but they probably didn't utilise that in the way that necessarily they wanted to. But they were patient, and eventually they did carve out opportunities. And actually, the one from Marcelino Nunez comes from a brilliant ball. I think it was Slimani's cross from the from the right, from the left, sorry, and he pokes it goalwards. Johansson produces a brilliant save, and I don't think it was from the resulting corner, but then from a corner, ball comes in, Kenny McLean nods that down, and that's been away from Johansson. I think probably the longer this game went on, and the Norwich weren't in control of it, weren't leading it, the more difficult it was going to become because of the energy levels, because of probably the last 2 weeks and players going abroad and playing for their international teams and all of those added context. And I think you could see it in a second half performance that really lacked quality from both sides. I thought it was pretty classic Championship, a lot of blood and thunder, but maybe not a lot of quality. But Norwich's goal maybe summarise that really, because it came from a Johansson clearance that he sort of slashed into the air. Slimani brings it down really nicely on his chest into Sargent, who snapshot sort of finds Sainz. He lays it off to Schwartau. His shot is then, we'll say, very cleverly and brilliantly guided by Josh Sargent's face into the path of Antti Sienats, who, and I think we've all seen it and sensed it with him. He needed a ball like that to drop for him, a moment like that to really get him underway at Norwich City. It was an excellent finish, actually, into the ground with real pace, came off the turf at a hell of a speed and into the back of the net. And it was right on the stroke of half-time as well. And you just feel if Norwich could have got in at half-time in front, they could have regained their composure. They could have then prepared for what would have come in the second half, which was a lot of direct balls, a lot of crosses. This is, even though I think Palace is trying to make Stoke a little bit more progressive, there's still that willingness to really utilise and lean on some of their basic elements that they do really well, to be fair. And they're going to make life difficult for lots of teams coming here, I think, with the way that they want to play, because it's not a style of play from him that is obsessive about possession. It's about kind of being quite multifaceted and adaptable. And I think we saw that today in different facets of the game. They caused Norwich City some problems. So I think this is what Norwich are going to encounter now, which is teams setting up to counteract a lot of their quality, to try and nullify Borja Sainz, to try and prevent the ball getting into Josh Sargent. And Stoke did that pretty successfully. But I think what will be really frustrating for Norwich is that 5 minutes after they scored, where they lost all composure, all shape, all fluidity. Their mentality was really poor, and just invited Stoke and offered Stoke a lot of territory and a lot of an invitation really to attack and grow into the game. And some of that was sloppy passing, some of it was positional, and the goal comes from a deep cross from the left-hand side. I think it's Ender Stevens, runs all the way to Manhurst. And I actually think Norwich, because they're shifting across, there's so much space for him and time for him to shift the ball onto his left foot, and then he can curl a shot towards goal. It is central. I need to watch it back probably a couple of more times through different angles than the ones that I was afforded in the press box, to see if George Long could have done a little bit better. My first feeling was that he could have done, maybe should have done, but equally Norwich didn't get out to Manhurst. They didn't stop him. They didn't limit the space that he had to essentially take 2 touches before getting a shot away. So I think if you're going to look at George Long, you have to then look at their response to that cross and not getting across quickly enough to really limit that space. Again, I need to watch it back, whether that's a Callum Doyle factor or sort of a general defensive factor, and maybe Borja Sainz on the cover. I don't know at the moment, but it felt like a poor goal to concede, and again the timing of it, because they've just gone ahead. They put so much energy in that first half in terms of trying to get ahead and trying to get their noses in front and producing opportunities. And I think if they'd have gone into the break, we'd have looked at that really as a pretty good, maybe even perfect away performance for the way that they want to play, where they want that control, they want that, they want to be the protagonists of a particular game. So then to have that 5 minutes at the end where you undo all of that hard work because of your lack of composure, because of your mentality, I think is what will really frustrate Yannis Oftora probably in the period that he assesses it, because it ended probably a really good half of a performance in the way that you don't want to. And look, Norwich lost Marcelino Nunez as well in that period. There was that hamstring injury that he's been struggling with. And really, when he came off, Norwich lost all sort of control on this game. The second half was so open. Norwich and Stoke as well, to be fair, probably didn't grapple it in the way that they would have liked. Norwich had to deal with a lot of crosses, a lot of long balls, a lot of entries into their box, a lot of set pieces as well that they were probably pretty needless. And as I said, there were a lot of players treading water. And again, I'm of a mind to cut them a little bit of slack because of what the majority of them have endured and travelling abroad, and some of them not getting back till very, very late and having 1, 2, 3 days of training to then launch into a game with this intensity and the type of game that it was. is tough, and we saw that at Swansea. The first game post international break can be really, really difficult to grapple with. So the fact I think that Norwich were able to survive, they didn't really produce any moments in the second half. They had a couple of half chances. I felt actually that the substitutions probably didn't come quick enough. I think they could have added a bit more energy into the game earlier. I was a bit surprised not to see Kate Gordon. I think his energy and given what we've spoken about the width, I think that's where the ball progression was going to come from. I felt they maybe could have utilised him, but whether Nunez's change just made them. And it was interesting because they were going to bring on Forson to replace Nunez. He was in his shirt. He had his training top off, and it was a late change to Schwartau. And yeah, then that sort of brought Slimani back, and the balance of the midfield didn't quite feel right in the same way. I didn't feel thereafter, and that probably made the game a little bit basketball matchy. Norwich's moments really in the second half came in transitionally. But yeah, by and large, it was a game that really lacked quality in the second half, particularly in both sort of final thirds of the pitch, I felt. So that's probably why I think we're stood here with a draw today, because I think if either team would have found quality in that final third, I think we'd be talking about one of them having 3 points. And alas, that wasn't the case. It was a second half of attrition, really. Probably two coaches who are very familiar with each other, maybe coping well with what each other was trying to do. And that made for quite an intense, pulsating game, but not one really in terms of a huge amount of goal mouth action. I think actually probably now and probably in the hour following the final whistle, I think both teams in the dressing rooms probably would have been disappointed that they didn't quite or weren't able quite to find that second goal. But I think a draw was a fair reflection, all told, on this piece. And as I said, Norwich have 4 games in 5 away from home. They're going to be coming up against tough teams. It's a 46-game season. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You need to know when to take a point and to bank that and to take that and move on and not disrupt the momentum too much. And you also need to know or have that knowledge of when you need to push on and get 3 points and get a win. And I think maybe the opportunity to do that at Preston and to take 4 points from this block, I think that would be hugely successful then to heading into the Carrow Road game against Middlesbrough. So, look, I don't think this is the end of the world. I don't think it's a result really that does either team too much damage. It keeps Norwich where they want to be in terms of that top end of the table. They're touching they're in touching distance of those teams who maybe are beginning to look very good and hit their stride. But yeah, not that second half wasn't great. It's probably as poor as Norwich have performed, but I think there's probably enough mitigation in that to make it acceptable to then head into Tuesday. So yeah, look, take this on the chin, move forward. That's the message I think here today. Just a word as well, Francis Sinats. I know I touched upon him, but I think he needed that moment, and I think everyone could sense he needed that moment. He needed a goal. He needed something to fall for him, something to drop for him, a moment, and hopefully that is now the start of where he can really kick on and turn what has been some really bright flashes into some output and to join that attacking contingent of Sargent and Science as well and contribute in terms of those facets as well. So I think we can all see there's a player in there, just needs unlocking, and yeah, hopefully that is the case today. We'll obviously find out more about Marcelino Nunez on Monday in Yanis Otorup's press conference at Preston, but I don't get the sense we'll be seeing him there. But otherwise, Norwich have come through this game, tough test, tough place, as we know, largely unscathed. And I don't think that's the worst result in the world. Right, that's it. We're going to hit the road. I've got some people waiting around for me who want to shut up the stadium, so I will let them. So I'll love you and leave you. But yeah, all in all, decent point. Take it. And we go again on Tuesday at Preston. Thank you very much for watching. Plenty more analysis, plenty more reaction on pinkun.com. And we will catch you very, very soon. Thanks for watching.